Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Framework Workshop. It's an honor to have you here and such a joy. This is going to be time just to refresh and renew and turn inward a little bit. We'll do a few exercises and I'll give you a quick overview. I'm going to walk us through a guided reflection that I'm known for doing. So if you've been on before, you know that the three mantras I live by: I belong here, I am ready, and I am not alone. But I will invite us into that space to really drop into it. And then we'll do an exercise. So if you have a pen or pencil and paper nearby, that's great. If you don't, you're going to want some probably. And then we'll debrief that exercise together and just see what it was like for everyone. Then I'll introduce, and you don't have to share. This is all challenge by choice. So you can share if you would like. I will at the beginning, so once we go into the guided reflection, I'll mute everybody, but you'll still have the power to unmute yourself. So just be wary or aware, you don't have to be wary, but be aware if you mute yourself to if you unmute to remute, just so that we're not getting that background noise. And then when we have the debrief, we'll just all come off of that, and that way people can hear the oohs and ahs and responses, so we can feel that sense of connection with each other, because there's so much more than just our words that make us feel connected. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to introduce what I said. It was the freebie giveaway of the PDF that I call my Anchor's Guide to Self-Care. And it's just a fun little guide to go through when we're feeling anxious or irritated or just not having the best day. This is a really great go-to just to grab and say, what's one of these things that I could do right now in this moment to uplift my spirits and to make things better. And then we'll go into a little bit about the framework course, which 3 of you are already in. So you're gonna have to bear with me, but maybe you'll learn more about what you signed up for. And that'll just be an introduction to, if you like this, there's more of that coming up in the framework course, which starts a week from today, same time slot, 1:30 to 3 Mountain Time. But during the week, we'll have a lot of ways to connect. So we'll have an online community that is not Facebook based. So I did a lot of research to find a community that is off of Facebook. So we don't have those notifications grabbing our attention, and we can really just create a community together with our other classmates. And then we'll have a question and answers. And then I'm going to give stuff away for free. And I have this little preview here. This chair has all the presents on it that I'm giving away. So if you're here, most likely you're going to win something, because you have to be live to win. And right now, I'm pretty sure I can find something to give away to all of you. So, and then we'll just do a closing. So that's the overview, but let's go ahead and drop in. Feel free, if you're not, most everybody, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, so it's not like you're going to be watching each other, but if you'd like to, you can turn your video off if that makes you feel comfortable, because this will be recorded, so other people will watch it. And so I will just trust that you're still there doing the exercise. So we're just going to take a few moments to take some nice deep breaths. And it seems like all of you are sitting. So I'm going to invite you really to just feel yourself being held. Feel the chair that you're sitting in holding you. Feel how you do not have to effort to hold yourself up right now. Take a nice deep breath in and give yourself the gift of an audible exhale. We can't hear you, so in and feel how that just drops your shoulders, drops you into your body, because you can feel that breath inside. It's not way up in your head, but down inside. So let's take 2 more of those. A nice breath in. Relaxing a little more with each one. One more. Now I'm going to invite you to place your hands on your heart if you would like to. That really helps me to drop out of my head and thinking about this exercise, to actually experience what's happening. You can place one hand on your heart and one on your belly, or both hands on your heart. And I'm going to walk us through 3 guiding thoughts that have really helped me in life at any moment, whether there's tension or I just want to become a little bit more present where I am, whether I'm feeling a lack of confidence or inadequate for some reason, even if I can talk myself out of it intellectually. I take 3 breaths like that, and then I remember these things. I belong here. I belong here in this exact moment, in my skin, exactly as it is, exactly as I am. I belong here in my home, in the family that I am in the neighborhood and location where I live. I belong here in this world at this time. I belong here with all that is mine, all the lessons and the blessings, small and great. I belong here with the responsibilities I have before me. I belong here. I am ready. I am ready for what is mine to take care of. And I am ready to let go of what is not mine to take care of, what is not mine to think about or worry about. And I am ready to discern the difference between what is mine and what is not mine. I am ready for the next right step, to take the next right step. I am ready for whatever is mine to handle. I am ready for the growth that is mine, to experience myself in ways I can't even imagine. I'm ready to learn what I'm capable of. I'm ready to shine. I am ready. I am not alone. I am not alone because right here, I'm with these wonderful women. I am not alone because right here, closer than my very breath, is love itself, guiding each step, giving me the courage to do what I need to do, giving me the grace I need to feel at ease or peace rather than anxious and worried. I am not alone because I am sharing this time in history with billions and billions of expressions of life in many, many forms. I am not alone. I belong here. I am ready. I am not alone. I invite each of you to take a nice deep breath and let whatever is true in what was just said absorb for you. And whatever doesn't resonate for you, just let it fall away. And when you're ready, you can start your videos again. I'm going to welcome you back into this space and having that feeling of just being all the way here, all the way present for what we have to experience together. And so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to dive into our workshop exercise. So if you have a pen and paper or a pencil or a crayon, whatever you want to write with, a marker, especially those smelly markers, the blueberry, I love those scented markers. The blueberry is my favorite, and the cinnamon, but I don't like the color brown much, so that always annoyed me. Anyways, I digress. So we're gonna go ahead and do our guided, we're gonna do a guided journaling exercise. So I'm gonna give you a prompt and just see where it takes you. It's not something that you have to think a lot about. Just, you're not gonna read this to anyone, nobody's gonna see this. So it's basically, I call them sock pages, like stream of consciousness, just whatever comes out with this prompt. And so the prompt for all of us is, I turned the page too soon. The prompt for us is, what are the thorns in my side right now? Or the thorn in my heel, or the thorn, where are the thorns in my life? So what feels like it's maybe taking your energy, and it could be a person, it could be an activity, it could be a responsibility that you have, but what feels like it's stealing your energy, your attention, your resources, your peace, your feelings of stability, and even joy? What is taking that? What is in the way of me feeling balanced? And I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes for that. We're going to take 5 minutes together for that activity. Again, you'll be able to share this if you want to, but nobody's going to have to. So just let yourself be really honest, be petty if you feel like you need to. You know, my neighbor, if they would just stop parking on the sidewalk so I didn't have to walk around, you know, like that kind of stuff. Write it all down, get it all out. And I will give you a heads up when it's been 5 minutes and we'll come back together. And I'm just going to pause the recording. So if you're watching the recording, you can go ahead and pause the video and just set a timer for yourself to lead yourself on this. Okay, if you want to finish up your thought. And then I'll know you're ready when you've turned your videos back on.
Nice background, Karen.
Yeah, that's her front yard.
Yeah, that's
out in her yard. It's just a very still day on the ocean. Give Sandy another minute. What was that like for you guys, just to list out what is working and not working right now, or what is mostly not working right now? Did you have much to say? Was there much to write?
Not at first, but then it all just came flooding out.
Okay, she's nodding.
Yeah, that's how it was for me too. It was very general. You know, I had 2 things down. I thought, well, that's it. But then I kept writing and it became more. So
that's great. Yeah, just becoming aware of those things, because they're sitting there, like we're walking around with them. Mm-hmm. Those little irritations, the little, you know, I said the thorn in the heel, but that little pebble in the shoe that, like, you keep wiggling the shoe to move the pebble and then it comes back again. You're just, you know, so we have those things. So we're going to go ahead and, did anybody have a big challenge where they're like, this is in my way, like this insurmountable thing? And you're not going to have to talk about it. Just, did anybody have any?
I did somewhat. I think just because it's pain related, and so it seems to like just like stop my thought process, and right now thankfully it's mild, but it's just like it just wants to keep getting all this attention, and then it's like I can't do the other things. So
right, yeah,
taking care of it and I'm seeking treatment, but still it's just
right. Yeah, pain is one of those things that it can just be so loud and obnoxious, it'll take all of our attention, right? So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Karen. So we're going to take a moment and do another sort of guided reflection, and this is heart listening. And I've done this for a long time, but my friend Lori Benson taught me to actually have like a conversation with my heart. Like, I used to just journal, like, what do I need to know? And to me, I'm always talking to divine love, like, love, what do I need to know for my next step? And you heard that in the guided reflection where, you know, to me, love is closer than our very breath. And so I'm in that dialogue all the time, but I'm going to invite us to put the word heart on that. And so I'm going to ask you all to play along and just see what you think of this exercise. So let's see, if you're not muted, go ahead. Yeah, everybody here. Linda, I'm just going to mute you. So with everyone muted, you can go ahead and leave your videos on. This is just fine, but we're going to walk through placing our hands on our heart and just take 3 nice deep breaths. And bringing to mind what you just wrote, ask yourself, heart, what do I need to know right now? What do you need me to know that would help me with these thorns, that would help give me a different way of responding in life? Maybe it's better boundaries. Maybe it's asking for help. Maybe it's more quiet time or any quiet time at all. But we're just going to take a moment to listen. Heart, what do you need me to know right now? And I'll bring you back together. Just keep your breath nice and gentle, but keep breathing. So what was that like for you? Feel free to unmute yourselves. We'll just do a little bit of a debrief of what was that like? What was that experience like for you? Did you hear anything that surprised you? Did you feel like, I couldn't hear anything at all? Did you feel like you had to compete with your head? Thoughts, whether it was about the exercise or about something you have to do at 4 o'clock or about whatever that is. So I see some nodding on the different pieces. Would anybody be willing to share what that was like? Just to listen to your heart directly. And it's okay, this is again, challenge by choice.
I'll share. At first nothing was coming up. And then, I don't know what it was generally, just general stuff like what I'm doing matters and that I should keep learning. I don't know how it was related to what I wrote down earlier. But it was mostly that what I'm doing matters and that I should keep learning.
Man, that doesn't sound like it's coming from your head worrying about stuff.
Right? Yeah.
That sounds very gentle and just like you're doing great. Don't worry about it. Well, who you are matters. What you do matters. And as a mom of 2 kids and trying to figure out the balance you guys are striking with COVID in California, and it's constantly changing things for you. And I just know this because I know you. Just that sense. And I won't do this to anybody else, just so everybody knows, Michelle's my best friend since high school, since we were 15. So I know everything about her. I won't call.
You can tell them everything. It's fine.
She can't fire me from being her best friend by saying, I know about your kids, so I won't do that to anybody else. Yeah. Even if I do know about you, I just know she's okay with this. So, but just that sense of gentleness that our heart brings up, dropping in to listen to your heart may just give you some sort of message like that. That's like, oh, well, then I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. I'll keep handling the things I need to handle. I'll keep figuring out the groceries and figuring out, my job or whatever. That dropping into listening to your heart of what do you need me to know just moves us from here down into that space that is not so intellectual and criticizing and judgmental, right? Your heart, generally, if it's from your heart, it doesn't have to be loud because it's true. And it doesn't have to fight to be true. It's just true. So it's just always whispering, always gently telling us what we need, but we have to pause to hear it. And I call this the pop, the power of the pause. And that dropping into that space, like asking heart, what do you need me to know instead of what do I need to know, gets very specific about who we're listening to. Because our head has so much, will definitely tell us everything we need to know. Our ego, personality is going to shout at us like, well, you just need to hold your ground and and your heart might say, just be gentle with yourself. Maybe take a bath. It's a very different response than that sort of needing to fight for what is ours in the world. And our head is always going to be sort of coming from that space or self-righteousness, So thank you for sharing, Michelle. I didn't pay her extra to share. She totally volunteered. But would anybody else like to share anything from that listening or from what's coming up from hearing about this as we continue talking?
I can share.
Okay, Karen, thank you.
So I had a thought right away, or a feeling right away when we started doing that. So I have a fitness calendar on my refrigerator to do a race, and it's a distance that I've already done and I'm comfortable with. And I told myself when I put this on the refrigerator that if I didn't do one of the workouts or whatever, that I wasn't gonna like give myself a hard time about it. It wasn't like a to-do list, but I keep going back to like it being a to-do list. But when I dropped into my heart was saying, and the pain that my body's experiencing kind of are saying, you don't have to do that. You'll do it another day, and you like to move, and you don't have to do it today. And it just took all the pressure off. So it was very good. It was a very good exercise for me.
Again, that gentleness.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really struck by that gentleness of like, it's okay. Like, you're not failing by, right now what you need is this. And that's what the heart is so good at knowing. It's just, well, just do this. It's very simple. and it can be surprising. Was that surprising to you at all?
Yeah, because I thought I was being like loose and free about it and not being pressured on myself, but no, it was. Even though I did it in pretty colors, it's still on the refrigerator. So I think I'm gonna take it off the refrigerator, and then during the day I'll like look at it and decide, oh, do I want to do this today? I think that'll be a little less pressure.
Right on. Yeah. And dropping into your heart and asking, what's the right activity right now? That guided reflection at the beginning just brings us into that space. So just knowing like, I belong here, I'm ready, I'm not alone. Okay, if that's all true, then how do I take the next step in my day? How do I do the next thing? And asking your heart of like, okay, so looking at this list that I made for this race, knowing my heart wants to run this race, what's the right activity today? And you have some guidelines around some great ideas, but your heart might surprise you and give you a totally new idea, and that's what's so cool about that. Thank you for sharing, Karen. Any last thoughts before we move into our next section? Linda, yes.
Yeah, for me, I didn't really hear anything, but I just had this really wonderful sense of calm. I just felt very calm, and I just hung out there. It was really, it was like I was in a hammock someplace, with the warm sun, and it felt very good. So I just left it at that. But
yeah, no need to complicate it, right?
Right.
And that's the thing. So I call that the self-care sprinkle. Everybody's like, oh, I need to be better about self-care. I need to be better about self-care. Like, it takes like just a few seconds. That was 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that calm, when you drop into that space of calm and then you continue with your day, you're probably going to be a nicer person. You might not be as rash in your decisions.
Yeah.
You took that, and it's just a sprinkle. You just sprinkle it in. And so that activity of heart, what do you need me to know right now? Like, sometimes when an appointment's running late, like somebody's running late for me, I'll just sit, and that's what I'll do. I'll just be like, hey, heart, let's hang out a little bit, because for my personality, my heart is not my go-to place. I am all head all the time, and just, and very busy. I suffer from that idea that I'm just so busy, there's not enough time. And so if suddenly something changes in my day and I have a moment, rather than just getting on my phone and scrolling Facebook or, Instagram, or I just drop in. Yeah. By the way, Michelle does all of my social media for me for my business, so I don't have to be on it as much. So that's probably my fault. I'm sorry, Michelle. But because of Michelle, I get to take moments and drop in to my heart and just listen. Like, is there anything I need to know? And I am stunned over and over again how, like, somebody's name will come to mind out of the blue, and I'll just text them like, hey, I was just thinking about you. And they'll say that was the best thing that could have happened for that day, or they were struggling, can we talk later? or, or it just adds love, right, into the world, just to be thinking lovingly about somebody. So, so that practice, again, 2 minutes, you can set an alarm on your phone to make sure that you don't just stay in the hammock too long. But just even setting a little alarm on your phone to start training yourself to ask your heart, because everything else, unless you're very heart-centered, and I'm sure you all are, I'm not, so I have to practice this. And I can tell when I haven't done it in a while. I can tell by the way my husband responds to me as though I've hurt him with my words, because I become sharp and I become like things are in my way, and like I just, anything added, a question, like I don't have time for questions, like I have to get this done. Karen can relate, she's got an answer on her face. Yeah, so this practice makes us kinder, more open-hearted, compassionate people on the planet and in our communities and neighbors and in our families. And it takes 2 minutes. When you go to the bathroom, just sit on the toilet long enough to do it. You can do this a number of ways. So that is our exercise that I wanted to invite us all into. And now I'm going to introduce you to that anchors guide I told you about. I have to do a little tech maneuvering because I have to share my screen. So here we go. All right, we're going to share this. Yes, okay. Then I'm going to turn it into a presentation. Okay, so welcome to Framework. So I love Sue Monk Kidd, and some of you probably know her. She's an amazing writer. Some people know her because she wrote The Secret Life of Bees, which got changed, put into a movie. She's written several novels, but she has also written a lot of nonfiction about her experience as a Christian woman and just on a spiritual journey in general. And I love this quote from her. When change winds swirl through our lives, they often call us to undertake a new passage of the spiritual journey, that of confronting the lost and counterfeit pieces within us and releasing our deeper innermost self, our true selves. They call us to come home to ourselves, to become who we really are. And that's my commitment. In all of my work, it really is about just coming home to ourselves, how to come home to ourselves. And it sounds so basic that a lot of people it just goes, phew. But this idea of facing and confronting the lost and counterfeit pieces of ourselves, coming home needs to have that part, whether it's confronting our personality or a sense of ego or the things that we grasp at and hold on to, so that we can really settle more into our true selves. So that's what's showing up in the world and in our lives. And so all the work that I do as a coach and as a retreat facilitator, workshops and classes, that's all at the root of it. So this is the anchors guide that I'm going to send everybody, and you'll have that in the email. It'll come as a PDF that you can just download. And I love this acronym because I feel like these things, if you just did something off of this list every day, you would be sprinkling in that self-care. And it can be so simple, whether it's the heart activity that we just did, that listening to our heart, or something off of this page. So the A stands for altar, and I actually took a picture that I meant to put in this presentation and forgot. But the idea of an altar is not something that you're bowing down to or worshiping. It doesn't have that kind of energy. It's about creating a sacred space that you are putting the things that matter to you, just symbols of things that matter to you at this moment in your life. So you can have like pictures of family and things like that, but it really is about the qualities you want to be bringing into your life and to be practicing more of in your life. A space that when you look at it, it instantly reminds you, that's right. I'm focusing on compassion, care, and courage. Symbols that remind you when you look at that. So creating a little altar space is a great way where in a moment you can bring yourself back to what matters. And so if you have it in a space where either you see it every morning when you wake up or you pass it regularly in your day, just have it be a space that's not something like a project that you check off a list and then you never look at it. You want it in a space that you can see it and you interact with it. Sometimes that can be having a little vase that you put fresh flowers in so that you're, tending to the space, or having a live plant on your altar. Or if you're just like, you like to dust things, then you can have things on there that you dust regularly, so you're coming to that space. But creating an altar and then interacting with it is one of the ways that every day you can be tending to self-care. Linda's gonna love this one. So nature, spending time in nature. And actually, I think all of us on this call, Kim, I don't know you, but I know everybody else here loves nature, I think. So spending time in nature. And it's not as complicated as like driving to the mountains. You can find a patch of grass and just pay attention to it. Usually where there's grass, there's life, whether it's ants or little beetles or, there's some sort of life. But being in a space where you're interacting with the natural world happening on its own. And that can pull us out of ourselves. It can pull us out of our head. And it's an activity of stillness or attention, paying attention. So you can also hike in nature. You can be more interactive in it, but listening to nature and breathing it in, letting it be a part of you. Again, that power of the pause, being in nature really, really helps with that. So C is for cleaning. Now, maybe you hate cleaning, I don't know, but for me, one of the ways I work stuff out is like, I will clean something. My husband thinks it's hilarious because when I need to really sort through something, like we get a really clean house. It also happens when I'm avoiding like working on my novel or working on something, but we have a clean space, and it's not about like being rigid about it. It really is the process of taking something in one state and moving it into another state. One that doesn't like distract you as you're moving through. So this can be very small. This could be to clean a bookshelf. You can, Karen, am I allowed to say that this is you? Because I love this so much. It's a bookshelf. Yeah. She like the color coding of the bookshelf. Can you tell us about that really quick?
You mean the part that happened before in the
No, I mean, you can include that, but just like that experience of like taking everything and making it in a different way than it had been before.
Yeah. So we have a couple tall bookcases, and they've been sorted by more like the library system, and I've seen the color model of doing it by color, but I was like, well, that sure looks pretty, but that doesn't seem practical at all. And well, my husband helped me rearrange it, and seeing it now, sitting and looking at the colors of the bookcase is just, it makes me so happy to look at it.
Right.
And right. So I don't need that order. It turned out that the color was way more important to me, and that surprised me.
Wow. That's a really cool realization too. And that's just one little section of your house. Like, it's not like you have to clean everything and keep it all clean and be a clean person. It really is just, again, taking a space and making it something new, making it something that sparks joy, as Marie Kondo says. And that, it can be a closet, it can be a pile of papers that's been sitting somewhere for a while, and actually going through them in the process of sorting and organizing and creating a right place for them, that can really feed a sense of clarity mentally. So that's C. So the H in anchors is humor. And I think that humor is incredibly healing. I know it has been in my life, and it's why I can be in really, really dark places with people and very rarely do we not laugh. Very rarely. And it's not because the situation is something to laugh at or laugh about, but it's because humor is an expression of joy. And to me, joy is a spiritual birthright. I think all of us have a right to joy. And you can see that when you meet many monks. You'll find very simple lives, not a lot of stuff to bring joy, and yet some of the most joyful people I've ever met. And that's that spiritual depth of that joy that is intact, and knowing that it's not dependent on anything external, so it's right there. And so to me, throughout my travels, throughout my life, through my own greatest tragedies, humor was something that felt like it was a gift to me from love. And so I find it is a really important thing to include. And whether that's, you know, a little, I don't know, a little Saturday Night Live sketch, or it's calling your best friend who makes your sides hurt from laughing, or it's, you know, looking at little puppies and kittens on YouTube. Those things can make us laugh. I do recommend it not being cynical humor. And the reason for that, and I know, like, I love sarcasm. And the humor that I'm talking about, that self-care, is the humor that brings us to our heart. And I think sarcasm is an activity of intellect. And so non-cynical humor is that thing that sort of feeds us. Like when we were little kids, when kids don't understand sarcasm until a certain age. And I think that childlike humor that they have, you know, when they start telling knock-knock jokes that make no sense, they're trying to learn about how humor works is as humans. But much earlier than that, they're hilarious. Just by nature, children are. And so that joy, something that ignites your childlikeness, is the humor that I'm referring to. Again, though, I love sarcastic jokes, so don't hold back. So the O is for opening your heart. And so that exercise we did together really was an O exercise. So I don't really need to explain it very much because we've already gone through it, but there are lots of other ways to open your heart. You can do those sock pages, the stream of consciousness pages. You can color. Again, Michelle loves coloring. I know this about her. Like just, and obviously Karen said that the color of her bookcase like makes her so happy. Like interacting with color can open your heart. Creating something, playing with animals or children, volunteering, doing something with your hands can really open your heart because it takes you out of your head. It engages the other parts of us. And writing thank you letters or doing a gratitude journal is also heart opening. The R is for restoration, and that comes in a lot of ways, whether that's hanging in the hammock. That I love that, Linda, that was such a great metaphor for what you experienced with calm. Whether that's hanging in a hammock, taking a bath, a nice hot shower that just makes you relax your shoulders. I love laying on the ground and putting my legs up the wall. That's something that, like, for 5 minutes, and I'm just energized and I feel rested, and I feel way less tense in my shoulders because I had a different relationship with gravity for 5 minutes, and it really seems to help. But those activities are restorative. I love taking a hot bath and putting my head underwater. I don't know if you guys ever do this, where you like submerge and you can hear sounds outside, but it just makes the world go really quiet. And that's a great way to find deeper quiet, especially in a home with a lot of noise. Michelle's nodding. Have you tried that, Michelle? And the S, which is the last letter in anchors, is songs. So I learned recently just in science that they're finding that one of the reasons songs are so comforting is it has something to do with your vagus nerve. I don't know a lot about the vagus nerve, but that it has an instant calming response. So, you know, we sing to children, we sing to babies. It's a soothing activity, but we can do that to ourselves. I sang on the way into my office today. I have an hour drive to my office from my home. And I was singing, and it was just so comforting and calming. I do not have a great voice. I mean, not one that I would put on a stage for other people, but just singing to myself. Dancing is the other reason songs are so important. So a joyful activity of picking one song that's your go-to dance song that's like 2 or 3 minutes long. This is another way to sprinkle in self-care. You know, put it on and really rock out. You can do this in your car. You can even sit chair dance instead of getting up and dancing. But just that sense of interacting with something outside of us. Music really has the power to bring us into that space. It can bring joy, it can bring calm. When I'm working, I listen to instrumental music that has no words, or classical music. When I want to dance, I put on, you know, party music, or songs that I love to run to. And so you can just pick the music that feels like it's gonna meet your need in that moment. Again, 2 or 3 minutes, that's it. We sprinkle all of these things in. I know cleaning is a little bit, it may take a little more time, but you know, you can clean off your dashboard in your car just so you're not looking at dust. Like that takes 2 minutes. So again, sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. So this is just my gift to you all. It helps me, and it's gonna be much more, I know this says 7 ways to find your center quickly. I actually, have a newer version that says seven ways to experience greater wholeness, I think is the final one. Because I like that idea of finding your center, but this really is about uncovering wholeness that we already possess. And so these things help remind us that, like, oh, right, I'm whole. I'm not broken. I don't have to fix anything. I'm already whole. Let's cultivate and feed that wholeness. Any of the work that I do, I move from a place of wholeness. I will never be fixing any of my clients because they're not broken. I will never be telling you that you need this or you need that to be whole. We move from a place of wholeness. So that is Anchors. Does anybody have any questions or any inspiration from that, of like things that you've used either in addition to or that make you think of these activities? And it's okay if you don't. I just don't. The sound of my own voice. Yes, Michelle, please break up the sound of my voice.
Sorry, it's always me popping in here. So my husband and sometimes my kids make fun of me for the cleaning thing. It comes in the form of organizing for me, organizing little different spaces. And they're always making fun of me for like moving something around in the kitchen, or mostly it's something in the kitchen. My husband will be like, you constantly move this, I can never find it. And he's not wrong because sometimes I just need it to be in a spot that seems more efficient, or sometimes I'll just move pictures around on the wall just because it needs to be something different for me. And when you said that it brings a sense of clarity and joy, that's exactly what it is. Like my brain changes when I'm doing it and I feel better. And I think that it's clarity and joy, those two things mixed together. And that was just a realization for me. And now I can use that against my family when they're making fun of me.
I'm so glad I'm weaponizing all of this goodness so that you can use it against your family. I guess I'm not the one weaponizing it. You can do whatever you want. Great, thank you for sharing that example. So now I'm going to move a little bit into the inspiration for framework. And this is kind of a culmination of, well, it's not kind of, it is the culmination of 18 years for me, probably 19 years, from when my life got turned on its head through just immense tragedy in my personal life to this moment and my practice with my coaching practice that's now 12 years old, and having worked with so many people, especially women, over the years. And so this is what I've put together is sort of the groundwork for just building and building and building on top of. And really the inspiration for framework came, I was walking by, we have a river where I live called the Arkansas River, and it's this beautiful whitewater mountain river. And I was walking along it, and this question came to me. What is the frame that we need to move into the world that we're moving into now? Because we can't really go back ever to what was before. And we're not quite sure what life looks like after this pandemic has come to a point where we're not having to adjust because of it so much. And so what's the frame that we need? And I thought, well, I have a lot of ideas of like what are helpful to have for that. But then I thought, well, I'm just going to listen, like frame, what does that mean? And the idea came to me that we needed a strong foundation. We needed resilience. That was a word I was hearing a lot of like, I just don't feel like I can adjust anymore. And resilience is the response for when we feel like we can't adapt or be flexible anymore. We need to learn how to pay attention in new ways. So that's what the A stands for. We need to understand what is meaningful to us versus what we give meaning to with our attention and our energy. And we need to be expressing. We need to understand how we can express ourselves, our voice. How do we need to be expressing ourselves as we move forward into a new way of doing things? And how do we give ourselves permission to express more fully? So that became what frame meant to me. Now, this is the framework course because this is the first in a series. Frame stands by itself. You could take this and never take the second part, but work in framework takes us deeper into what we learn from frame. And so it really is putting into practice what we learn from frame and all about this idea of wild. What's your wild? Rather than trying to fit in, to a box, I think that we're kind of losing those boxes more and more of like what was professional versus what's being a stay-at-home mom versus, I think those boundaries, those rigid boundaries are falling away. And we don't have as many ways to be pigeonholed, or at least it's not working for us anymore, I think, as a species to be pigeonholed. And so coming into this new way of who are you, what are your unique gifts that you have to give while you're here? And so the W is wildness. The O is ownership, to take ownership of our lives and our experience, to own our stories. And the R is all about restoration, and the K is about kinship. So although work also has its themes and its meaning, it really is taking us deeper into what we're learning from frame. And so that'll be available for anybody who wants to take the second course. But again, frame, the course frame, which is 5 weeks, stands by itself. So this 5-week course is meant for rebuilding, reclaiming, and rebalancing. We're really rebuilding a sense of what life is going to be. And we're going little by little, and we'll use the frame acronym for that. We're reclaiming our joy. We're reclaiming our strength and our courage. This time has left a lot of people very tired this past year, and we're needing to learn new ways to claim those things, the strength and the joy and the courage, without necessarily changing the externals right now. So learning how to reclaim that, and rebalancing is also finding that balance in the midst of constantly changing outsides. Then we really need to get clear about what our insides are going to be, so that whatever's happening on the outside, this is still in place. And it's not rigid. It really is just that center of the storm, the eye of the storm, where it's calm, so that we know the next right step to take. We can hear what our heart is whispering to us beneath the noise of our head and everything outside of us. So that's what frame is really about. I love this quote from Laurie Schaefer. When I peeled back the layers, I found a beautiful resilience inside. This is how I know I'll always thrive. So this course is about peeling back those layers. This course is not going to give you resilience. Nobody can give that to you. But peeling back those layers, you get to see that it's already there, and then we get to cultivate it. We get to grow it like those beautiful flowers. One of our Main resources will be the work of Brene Brown. She's given us a lot of guidance with structures that are very easy to process and to then take and implement into practice. And they come from just 25 years of data from people all across the spectrum, all over the world, of what they need to be vulnerable, to be authentic, to be honest, to be courageous. And so, so her work is a big anchor to what we'll be doing in Frame. And I love this quote, so I threw it in there. Owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy. The experiences that make us most vulnerable. Isn't that amazing? Like, she considers joy is the most vulnerable thing that people can experience on the planet, because there's this instant response of, wait a minute, I can't be too joyful, something bad could happen. And that it is something that universally people seem to experience, that fear. But also belonging, of showing up as we are and knowing that that might not be received, or so that makes us very vulnerable, but that vulnerability is the key to true strength. And she doesn't just work with, you know, women who love touchy-feely things. She's talking about CEOs and the military, and they say there's no courage without vulnerability. So I'm really curious to learn more about that with you all. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. And that is what the purpose of any of the darkness and the experience that we're having will serve. But it really is about getting to what is our true light. True belonging. So again, because Brene is a big part, her work is a big part of this, Dr. Brown's. She talks about true belonging being a spiritual practice. So this is going to be all about spiritual growth. Now, what that looks like for everybody doesn't mean you have to like the word God. You hear me talk about love all the time, and that's what I'll be referring to throughout the whole course. If that is God to you, if that is the universe, if that is Great Spirit, whatever you call it, just that thing that is bigger than you that connects you to others, is what that will be about. So she says, true belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. And that's that wildness that we're talking about. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. Imperfections are not inadequacies. They are reminders that we're all in this together. This is one that she made herself, like her team made this, and I love these roller skates. I think it just takes me straight back to being a child, but also how imperfect they are. And I love that that's what was picked as the representation of imperfections. We'll show up in framework with our imperfect human selves so that we can uncover our holy wholeness and perfection, and perfection, not imperfection. That sounded a little similar. Oh, I shared that twice because it's so important. So we're going to leave it there. So more about the framework course. So we'll be building change resilience. This is a term that I've never seen anybody use. It just came to me a few weeks ago, of this idea of change resilience. Now, resilience in itself just means like being adaptable to change. But because change feels thrust upon us right now at every turn, and most often when we're not expecting it, I wanted to connect those two words very closely. So we're building and cultivating change resilience so that the changes don't have to stop for us to feel grounded and centered in ourselves. We'll be identifying what matters most to us now in the midst of constant adaptation and adjustment. Maybe things that are meaningful, that used to be meaningful, have changed, so we'll explore that. We'll build a frame so that we can find our still point in all the movement and respond to life from that place. So this includes 5 weekly Google Meet sessions with the topic of the week based on our acronym of FRAME. We'll start with foundation a week from today. Right now, we'll be talking about that. We'll have guided reflection each week and exercises. And I'm working to create small groups or pairs so that those of us, especially that are introverts, can get to know each other in a smaller space than the large group. Now, the large group at most will be 15, but even that can be too much. I know for me, I prefer one-on-one or, a group of 3 people. So we'll have those breakout rooms with Google Meet, and that's why we're using that platform. And then there naturally will be coaching with me, which will always be on volunteer basis. If somebody's having a problem and says, hey, can I just get some coaching on this? Then as long as you're willing to be coached in front of others, you get free coaching, or not free, it's part of the deal. You'll have a course library with resources, a beautiful course library online that you'll have access to. The off Facebook community that I mentioned with Mighty Networks, we're creating our own Facebook, our own community that will not be on Facebook. There will be coaching during the week on that platform. Whether you say, hey, what do you think about this? Or what would you do with this? Or I'm struggling with this. Other students in the group will be able to respond to that. But I'm also going to be in those conversations and helping out with that. And then a course guide to guide you through. So there will be exercises during the week and things that you can do. Now, you can take the light version where you just do the calls each week and that's enough for you. There's not going to be grading. You don't get graded on this. You can use as much or as little as you want. I do ask that if you sign on, because the group is so small, that you are able to show up to the live calls so that can be a rich dialogue with everybody there. But those will be recorded as well so that people can go back to things that they're wanting to remember. So the model is not so much about the frame, like building the frame of a house, but it's more like building a chrysalis, like building the chrysalis of this time to really go deeper and understand what's going on for you and who you want to be, how you want to be coming through this and out of this. So we'll be framing everything in the metaphor of that chrysalis space. We are hopefully going to have a couple of guest speakers who have a lot to say about that. There will be more information on that. That's just something I threw in after I'd already priced the course, so it'll be a bonus. It's not dependent on that, but we have some great people to potentially bring in. That space will be all about choosing who you want to be on the other side of all this. And so the course as a chrysalis space for each student to drop in, listen deeply, make choices, create boundaries, new boundaries, and practices that support spiritual growth. I mentioned that Brene Brown is one of our resources, Sue Monk Kidd is one of our resources, and then I'm going to invite everybody to pick a book to be their companion book. And this is just a little smattering of books that are in the library to choose from. It'll be up to each of you to choose what you want and just order it in that first week. But these are great books. We've got Brene Brown, Braving the Wilderness, Terry Tempest Williams, When Women Were Birds. One Day My Soul just opened up by Janne Van Zant. This Messy Magnificent Life by Janine Roth. All Along You Were Blooming, which is just one of my favorites because it's every page is a beautiful watercolor of some sort. And then it has thoughts. It says, All Along You Were Blooming, Thoughts for Boundless Living. And this is by Morgan Harper Nichols. And I was recently accused of being a Morgan Harper Nichols dealer because I have so much of her stuff. I have like her posters on my wall. We're constantly posting stuff from her because it's just so beautiful. It's vulnerable. And she's somebody who thought she didn't have much to say. And now that she's let her voice shine, it's just stunning and it's healing people all over the place. So there will be lots of books to choose from. And yeah, so there's that. Then I'm going to read to you from Sue Monk Kidd, just really this little blurb from her book that I've hardly read. I don't know if you can tell. Like, I've only been reading it for the last 15 years, and it's like a journal. I mean, I have full-on pages written in there in my own handwriting. So this book is called When the Heart Waits, and if you order it online now, it's a yellow cover, so don't look for a dark cover. but I'm going to read to you from the page that I just took the sticky note off of and then closed the book. Maybe we are going to read this. Let's see. Okay, bear with me just for a moment. Here it is. Okay. She calls this whittling away. It's a little subtitle in her chapter, From False to True Self. There's an old Carolina story I like about a country boy who had a great talent for carving beautiful dogs out of wood. Every day he sat on his porch whittling, letting the shavings fall all around him. One day a visitor, greatly impressed, asked him the secret of his art. He said, I just take a block of wood and whittle off the parts that don't look like a dog. In down-home language, this anecdote describes the movement of growth I'm referring to and what we will be looking at in the class. The art of soul making is taking our lives in our hands and, with all the love and discernment we can muster, gently whittling away the parts that don't resemble the true self. In spiritual whittling, though, we don't discard the shavings. Transformation happens not by rejecting these parts of ourselves, but by gathering them up and integrating them. Through this process, we reach a new wholeness. So I just think that that's a really beautiful guiding thought for me of why we're doing this class and what will be at the root of what we choose and what we leave out. So that is framework. Does anybody have any questions about that? You know, this is a little weird because 3 of you have already signed up for the class. I won't say which 3. But does anybody have any questions? Let's get out of this and stop sharing. Okay, that's okay. It's okay to not have any questions. Because what that means is that now we get to give free stuff away. So I didn't do this very well. I should have been putting your names on pieces of paper as we went through this. So hold on. I'm going to give each of you a piece of paper with your name on it. Okay, so there's 6 of you.
Heather, will the information about the class, do you have that kind of synopsized someplace?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So what's going to come after this is I'm going to download this recording, upload it to YouTube, and include the link and to the video, but also the link to the course. And on the course page, it has everything, including the option to buy it at the end of the page. So it's got all of the information, but also I love having one-on-one discussions about this. So I've had like 4 calls about this class with people individually to see if it's a good fit for you. And so Linda, I'd love to talk to you directly. So my phone number will also be, I know you have my phone number, but my phone number will also be in the email and other. Oh, hi, Kim. we hear you. We hear you. Be safe. And so on that email, people can just click on those links and go straight through there, but also just call me directly to see. In that email, you also have a $20 off buying the course. So there's a coupon code, and you just have to remember to use that coupon code on the course page, and it'll give you $20 off. So that'll all be in the same email.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question, because I should have just automatically told you about that. Good job, unprompted. Okay, Linda, Sandy, Kim. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now. Thank you for watching this recording. And just like Linda asked, you got all that information. It'll be in the same email you got the recording with. Thanks so much.